This is TWIS. This Week in Science, episode number 956, recorded on Wednesday, January 10th, 2024. 2024 TWIS predictions. Hey, everybody, I'm Dr. Kiki, and tonight on the show, we will fill your heads with looking back, looking forward, and looking here and now. But first, thanks to our amazing Patreon sponsors for their generous support of TWIS. You can become a part of the Patreon community at patreon.com/thisweekinscience.
Disclaimer, disclaimer, disclaimer. The new year is here. The year that passed was filled with advances across the scientific field, innovations that hint at a very different future to come than the one that we may have predicted before the year began. While the new year awaits us, shrouded in a fog of uncertainty, the one that passed can now be clearly seen. So what better time to look at the last year's predictions and find out how close they came to reality. Before it is over, we will cast our gaze once more into the future and predict the year to come. Here on This Week in Science, coming up next.
I've got the kind of mind that can't get enough. I want to learn everything. I want to fill it all up with new discoveries that happen every day of the week. There's only one place to go to find the knowledge I seek. I want to know what's happening, what's happening, what's happening this week in science. What's happening, what's happening, what's happening this week in science.
Good science to you, Kiki and Blair.
And a good science to you too, Justin and Blair and everyone out there. Welcome to another episode of This Week in Science. We are back again. Blair, your face is so smiley right now. Justin, yours looks like it needs more coffee. No.
Your face looks like it needs coffee? Is that what you just said?
Well, I did,
that's probably
but
true.
welcome back. It's good to have you all back again. 2024, here we go again. Everyone, thanks for joining us for another episode of This Week in Science. We have a great show ahead full of predictions. This is our show where we look back at the predictions that we made last year and see how we did at prognostication. And then we look at the predictions we're making for this year to come. And then we're going to talk a little bit about science, and we're going to try and throw it all together in a timeline that makes sense so that Blair can stay with us for the entire show. Justin, what kind of science news are you going to be talking about later on?
Oh, let's see. What have I got? The giant apes of southern China. And, what is the other one? There's another one. Oh, yes, the rise of archery in South America, maybe earlier than we thought.
Ooh, I've got wings and another study related to, what did I put in here? Oh, yeah, supernovae and dark energy. Blair, what did you bring for the show tonight?
Oh, my goodness. I brought bats with sweet teeth and misunderstood grizzly bears.
Bats with sweet teeth.
Yeah.
Oh, do they get more cavities?
Great question.
I don't know. Okay, everyone. As we jump into the show ahead, I would love to remind you that if you are not yet subscribed, you can click that subscribe button wherever you are, and you'll get us every single week in your feed. Make sure you get notified also. Additionally, we are here as much as possible Wednesdays, 8 p.m. Pacific time, live streaming our show Wednesdays. And we are on YouTube, Twitch, and Facebook. Most of the social media accounts are at TWIS Science. Our website is TWIS.org. And if you look for This Week in Science, you'll find us pretty much anywhere. But anyway, here we go. It's time for the science. And let us begin with our predictions from last year. How did we do? How did we do?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I mean, I'm going to say, I think I usually play it fairly safe and close to the chest. So anyway, I said last year, yes, Climate change will continue to worsen with continued drought and fires around the world brought on by shifting weather patterns and higher land and ocean temperatures. Yep. Thanks, El Nino. However, we will see continued success in the development of sustainable energy sources like solar, wind, and geothermal. And yeah, there's been a lot of that. Oh, there was a real advancement and some real data showing us that those sustainable energy sources are making progress, which is great. And new battery technology will begin to improve electric vehicles as a choice for consumers. Also, that one came to pass, which I actually that was like a big toss in it because it's been a long time for hoping the batteries would start to get better. The James Webb Space Telescope will discover an atmosphere conducive to life on an exoplanet. That one's kind of a in between. It found an exoplanet with methane and carbon dioxide, which is indicative theoretically of a water planet. And if there's a water planet, maybe that could be so, yes, no, maybe so. I don't know. I said SpaceX's Starship will launch successfully into orbit. And I have good hopes for Starliner. They tried several times. They really tried. Didn't quite make it. Lots of explosions, but that's, iteration in the space game. Yeah. But unfortunately, it's pushed stuff off for human transport to the moon. But did not get that one at all. Samples from asteroid Bennu will return to Earth and bring visitors from space along for the ride. We got the samples, but no obvious little visitors from space.
Not yet.
They haven't told us yet. They're still, yeah. So maybe. But it wasn't in 2023. So what else did I say? Artificial intelligence will be the bane of teachers and librarians. Yes. Scientists will use it successfully.
Wait. Hang on a second. Hold, pause it. Why is it the bane of librarians?
Oh, because artificial... because artificial
I get the teachers because you're submitting reports. But if you're going in, it's how is AI messing with librarians? Is it
you don't have to ask
requesting books that it knows fall in between Dewey Decimal System? I don't know.
I don't know.
Yeah, real citations don't exist anymore. That's why.
What? Citations? What?
Oh, so the reference librarians are doing a lot of work. No, it's not in anything. That's not anywhere. Nobody ever said that. I looked.
Or they're sitting around very lonely because everyone's making their own references from scratch.
like reference librarians do fact checking.
I don't need that. I have AI. It's all good. But I said scientists will use it to successfully identify many new drug targets, design proteins, enhance efficiency, and much more. That's my playing it very safely. But I'd say, yeah.
But that all, even the much more, it all happened. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, this one was like one of my long throws. AI will enable us to speak with another of Earth's animal species. Does the whale conversation count?
I think so.
Did that happen?
It's tough. I say you get partial credit for that one.
Okay. All right. I like partial credit. It always helps.
We don't know what the whale said. Just because we got them to talk back to us, that doesn't mean we actually talked to them.
Yes. Not true communication with context and meaning. And yes.
Yeah.
I said, with the implosion of Twitter as a reputable platform, scientists and science communicators will continue to spread to new refugia for discussing science. Yeah. But connecting with the public will become more difficult, influencing the continued growth of distrust in science in the public sphere. And I have to say, I think that's kind of still happening. Yay. But TWIS listeners will continue to find TWIS a consistent source of optimism and curiosity. What say you, chat room?
Were we consistent?
Did we do it throughout the year?
The consistency part is tough, I think, but
we're pretty good at the optimism and the curiosity. At least I
Yes.
really hope
Kiki,
so.
you bring all the optimism. I try to be the reality check that everyone should smoke them where they got them.
Oh
It's
boy.
Kind of.
all the fun. All the fun. Yes. All right. Well, those were mine. I did okay. Did fairly well. Fada says, as far as I'm concerned, we did it. We really, really did it. That's
Yeah,
great.
that was a really good success rate there.
It's because,
with
like
those
I said, I
predictions.
play it close to the chest. Justin, what?
Mhm.
So I tend to be a little bit more confident and arrogant, perhaps, in my confidence, and so I
Really?
sometimes get a little bit more specific with my predictions. In 2023, I said the planet will continue to warm, the seas continue to rise, and much like COVID, people will continue to ignore that it is happening. I think that part's a hit. But see, then I go too far. I said, except for a handful of island nations that you can only find on maps made before 2024. So there are like 5 or 6 island nations that are petitioning to become recognized as nations even when their land is gone.
Virtual nations, even.
Mm,
Yeah.
Yeah. And so
Yikes.
it's going to be a new
Yep.
classification of a nation without territory.
People without a place. Yeah.
People without a land, but
Mhm.
maintaining an identity good enough to be a member of the UN, I suppose.
Yeah.
So we're not quite, but they're still on the map. And if you make a map in 2024, those islands are still.
Technically.
Oh, here's a hit. Despite all evidence to the contrary, it will be discovered that smoking is actually good for you.
You made up that study.
Ah, no.
That study's a mess. I gotta
CDC
say, I read it.
I know, it was
read
a
it,
mess.
it's a mess.
The CDC put out that report, and they didn't highlight the fact that their data showed that smoking amongst the severely depressed led to lower mortality rates.
No, they did not.
That's the big piece there amongst the severely depressed.
Yeah.
That doesn't mean
Well, that's what
smoking
we're
is
talking about. But that's what we're talking about. And so, yes, they highlighted exercise, even though exercise was a slightly higher mortality rate amongst the severely depressed than smoking, but also glossed over the fact that income inequality has a big role to play as well. Anyway,
Yeah.
in the prediction, I did go on to say that the discovery created a major boon for the one company that still made ashtrays, until it was later discovered that the ashtrays caused cancer, and it was them all along.
So, I mean,
Yeah, I'll give
plus
myself
one for
partial.
credit.
I'll give myself partial. Like,
Partial credit. Yeah.
The prognosticating, you just got to get close to target. You don't have to be 100%. James Webb Space Telescope, as some people still call it, will discover life on another planet. The infographic of chemical spectrography indicating biological processes will be underwhelming at first, but a later artist rendition of a winged toad as a possible life form on that planet will capture the world's imagination. I feel like this is happening over and over again.
They didn't release that data, I think. I don't remember that being like a publication.
Yeah,
they
left out the winged toad so far.
Yeah,
that one
for
still
sure.
hasn't happened. But they keep finding those what you would
Chemical.
expect for a life that is containing organic materials and some sort of life, but haven't gone so far as to discover a planet of winged toads.
Nope.
Winged. More space telescopes will be launched this year. That was last year. Discovering hundreds of interesting targets for the James Webb to get better images of. So yeah, there's still other people's like, oh, well, we got our telescope we worked on. We're going to put that up there. It's going to look at stuff. So there's a bunch more space telescopes than there were at the beginning of 2023. but nobody's talking about him because there's a much better one out there getting better
The prettier
resolution of
pictures.
everything.
Yeah.
Yeah. 2023 will be the year that fundamental mechanics behind gravity is finally figured out, untangling space from time, challenging the expansion rate of the universe, and upending large portions of the standard model, but only in a quantum computer simulation. That probably happened all the
I
time.
feel like that happened.
Yeah. I feel like the quantum computer simulations are discovering all sorts of things that only apply to within a quantum computer simulation. I said artificial intelligence will be discovered to already be far superior to most people when it comes to making good dinner table conversation. That is a miss. Oh my gosh. The
Yes.
language AI is still got the worst
Still
worst
not quite there.
terrible sentence structures, terrible conversationalists, very repetitive, very redundant, no good. And what was I saying? Oh, a new age-reversing tissue regeneration therapy will be developed that all but eliminates death from natural causes. The researchers admittedly see the ramifications of social, economic, environmental consequences such a therapy would have on the world and decide to keep it a secret. However, a few self-help nutritionalists find out the secret and are willing to let you know all about it during late-night infomercials. Conveniently, they have created a powdered milkshake version that produces the same results. That one's kind of a cheap prediction because I feel like that happens.
You can't really prove or disprove that one. That's like
that one happens every year. There's always a new secret. Science doesn't want you to know. Science wants you to be sick, but we have a milkshake that will make you healthy despite the evil scientists knowing that this is going to cure you of everything and take lipstick stains out of collars and do your taxes for you. But they won't tell you because they're part of a cabal. So drink this milkshake that we will send you once you subscribe for $29.99 a month. You will get a bucket of whatever we put in there. That's fine.
And we'll throw in a charged crystal while we're at it.
Yeah.
Just don't swallow it. Please.
Oh man.
I will say this last year was this is a miss. Well, or it's a soft hit because it can happen every year. But there were a lot of studies about food nutrition, food as medicine, healthy food diet that failed to produce positive results. Several throughout the year. So it may be that healthy food isn't so much good for you as the bad stuff. Alternatives are bad for you. Like there's like a, you know what I mean? Like it's not that food might just be food, and that's just it. You can exercise, you can do whatever. It's the food that's not really food that's messing everybody up.
Mm-hmm. It's all that processed stuff.
Yeah.
Off the science range, you had 3 others. What you got in there?
Do I? Oh, I can't even see them here. Hang on.
Oh, I clicked on the box.
Now I see it.
Yes.
Oh, yeah. I said 49ers will face the Chiefs in the Super Bowl and win. Oh, no, that's a this year prediction. I got it.
No, are you doing that?
And let's see. Putin will be ousted from power by summer. Oh, that still hasn't happened. But maybe that's a this year prediction. Sometimes I get my years.
I don't think so.
I don't think so.
And Elon Musk will announce a new reality show where participants are given a small business to run into the ground. Whoever manages to wreck their business the most in the most epic way will become Twitter's CEO for a year. That one's obviously wrong because there is no Twitter anymore. He got there first.
He did try to make his own reality show where he fought Mark Zuckerberg, though. That did almost happen.
I'm so glad it did not. That was.
But which one chickened out again?
Oh, they both.
Oh yeah, they both realized.
I thought it was
Elon. I'm a billionaire.
No.
I shouldn't. ever fight
Ugh,
anyone. Why would I? I'm a
Why would yeah.
billionaire. How
so
ridiculous.
silly.
Dun, 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 dun. But Justin, you went out on a limb for some of those, even though there were partial credit
Some of
for
them I
one.
think actually should stand
There
for
was
next
there,
year because,
there we go.
whenever you're predicting, it's hard to keep it to 1 year. Very often they come in 2-year sort of chunks.
Oh, really?
'Cause
Oh,
time is just, it's
wibbly
all the
wobbly and timey
same
wimey.
year
Yeah.
anyway, man.
Yeah.
Janice would say.
All right, Blair, what did you
Mm.
predict last year and how'd you do?
My predictions are always terrible. So my first, and most of them are jokes. My first one was a new social media platform will gain traction where you can change up the wallpaper, play music on your profile, and you can pick your top friends, maybe 8 of them. No, MySpace did not make a resurgence last year, but there are certainly other players in the game trying to take over the Twitter space. We'll see what happens. I think it's going to solidify in the next year. 3D printed meat will get some market trials and responses will be less than well done. Nope.
Wacka,
Did
wacka,
not hear that
wacka.
at all. There's still, I don't know what's holding him back. I think the taste, honestly, because from what I've heard, it always just tastes like nothing. Next, I predicted that tardigrades will do something weird. So I'm guessing that did happen, but we didn't report on it on the show as far as I could tell.
I know
This
some
No,
is
but
maybe
we
similar
a
did
weird
talk
slow
about
year
it.
for
tardigrade news.
tardigrades.
We did
Yeah.
talk about,
Yeah.
I think it was this year. The tardigrades were discovered that they were once eaten by a snail could make it all the way through the snail's
I thought
digestive
that was
system and
the
out
year
again.
before.
Was it the year
I thought
before?
that was 2022. I don't know.
It could be.
That's Kiki's looking. All right, while she looks, I also predicted that fully driverless self-driving cars will be active and prevalent in the Bay Area and cause problems. Yes, yes, yes. People have died. It's not good. It's pretty scary. So that was a big yes, unfortunately. First AI feature-length film will be released, and there will be too many fingers. No, but AI certainly can get up to a lot of weird things.
So
Uh,
there's a partial. I'll give you a partial on that. There have been
yeah.
images that have come of war for whatever reason were AI generated. Possibly because nobody wants to be in a war zone and take photographs because they're killing
Oh, sure.
journalists.
Yeah.
So images of destruction in Gaza have been shown representative of what's going on that were AI generated and did have too many fingers.
Yeah. An occasional extra leg, probably.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Thanks, AI. You're scary.
Yeah. I predicted that we will cure cancer again and again. And as far as I could tell, the closest we got on our show in the reporting is that there was a story about forcing cooperation in cancer cells to basically initiate cell death. So pretty good.
Yeah, there are.
There's no treatments out there yet, but still.
Yeah, there are several avenues of always, but the avenues that are taking place now are so much more targeted that we did cure cancer, and we did come up with cures for specific cancers and treatments for specific types of tumors, and
but they still have to be tested and vetted and
some of them have made it through some testing too. I mean, this is the thing. It's the problem is cancer isn't one causal.
Right.
Which is why I said again and again and again.
Yeah, because
it has to be done every time separate.
Yeah, well, it's largely also because there's like a group of genes that are producing proteins that need to work together to repair damage to cells. And any one of them that can't do their job or can't send the right signal can allow cancer formation to take place. It's bad repair jobs that create these monsters, sort of like Frankenstein cells that become cancerous, and then do everything that they're supposed to do to survive in a world where monsters are not wanted. But as we discover each of these sort of increments of change and ways that we can fix them, we get closer, but it's a long list of things that need to get fixed before cancer can be eradicated completely. We're making progress.
Yeah, of course. Yes. But it still looks good on paper when we say we've cured cancer.
Yeah,
It's
that
certainly a
whole
lot farther than
oh,
we
yeah.
thought we'd be just a few years ago. So it's pretty cool.
Yeah, and some
It's
cancers
always 5 or
we
10
we
years away.
have.
Always.
I mean,
Yeah. Yeah.
there is a treatment that will reverse leukemia. My goodness.
Which that's
How can
exciting.
you
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
can't fight that.
Yeah. That 5 or 10 years is getting closer and closer.
Mhm.
Okay, so I also predicted that California will experience a drought despite the storm parade we were experiencing at this time last year. I say as it currently rains outside my window. Now, technically, right now, today, California is not in quote unquote drought conditions. But reservoirs aren't exactly where they should be. There's still lots of trouble in the summer months getting the right water to the right places. So this
Mhm.
is, if you want to talk super technically, I don't think this is totally accurate, but water woes are not over and they will never be over in California. So,
So and my
yeah.
beef with that one is always that when I was a young man in California, the southern Central Valley was called the Big Nothing because there was nothing out there but desert, dirt, and cattle. That was it. And now it's endless orchards of almond trees. So I don't buy for a second that the drought is a drought in which people need to stop watering their lawns or take shorter
Lawns
showers.
are terrible. Don't you dare. And also,
Any of
yeah,
it.
what?
no,
No,
I
we're
don't
both
want to
gonna
hear
fight
it.
you on
Okay,
that one.
we're moving
Hey,
on. I
what?
still have predictions.
Hey, wait, what are you guys? What
Um,
part are you fighting about? Hey, wait, what part are you fighting against?
Lawns are bad, okay?
I'm
yeah,
not a big
lawns are
lawn fan either.
terrible.
But
Also,
consumers
golf
use
courses.
less
Do you
than
know
10%
how
of the
much
water.
water goes to golf courses in the state of California? But
That's
this is not the
commercial.
conversation we're
That's
currently having.
commercial.
We're talking about my prediction.
Individuals
So
use
let's
less
keep
than
going.
10% of the water. And there's no
Moving
need for
along.
almond
Moving
orchards in
along.
Yes.
California, even though I
Moving
love it.
along.
I also predicted that we will learn something new about snot, which was a weird random thing that I guessed
Mucin?
at. And as far as I can tell, it's no, I didn't see any snot news from last year. But please, anybody who's listening, if they found some snot news from 2023, send it my way. Frogs will once again dominate the animal corner. Absolutely. There was a lot of frog talk last year. And I also predicted that TWIS would do a live show. That didn't happen because, I got indisposed. And lots of other things happened.
Lots of other things.
Justin's on the other side of the planet. There's all sorts of stuff going on. But we'll get back to live shows eventually.
We can always
Yeah.
hope, right?
Yeah.
I mean, it would be great. That would be a real moment. For sure. Oh, and to go back to your tardigrades didn't necessarily do anything weird, but there was a study
Okay.
from July 2023 suggesting tardigrades evolved from worms and had claws. And those claws are potentially going to be used in creating swimming micro robots to allow them to grab onto things. And then some researchers have decided to try and put tardigrade DNA into human DNA, like for proteins and stuff that could be helpful
Oh man,
for health.
this is
Because
great. This is
tardigrades are
perfect discovery.
survivors.
Oh man.
We'll see.
This sounds like the really old way of doing science. We'll take something from this and put it in that and see what happens.
We're
So
going to
you-
do it.
Yeah.
We are going to do it. Oops. Hey, everybody. If you just tuned in, this is This Week in Science. We have just completed our review of our predictions from 2023. And now it is time for us to talk about our predictions for the year ahead. If you are loving the show, make sure that you share it with people. We'd love to get as many followers and subscribers as possible, and we can do that with your help. So make sure to share the link, get a friend of yours to become a friend of ours. We appreciate the fact that you're here. All right, time for the predictions for the year ahead. Who is first? Justin?
All right. In the year 2024, It will be discovered that Neanderthals are the result of a hybridization event between early humans and Denisovans, the late surviving members of Homo erectus that had been existing throughout Asia. Turns out we discovered the mule before the horse and thought the horse was half mule, making us all look like a bunch of jackasses. In the year
Yes.
2024, because see, that's a donkey. That's how that
I got it. I
comes
got it.
together at the end there. In the year 2024, every major neurodegenerative disease will have an effective cure working its way through clinical trials. While large-scale access to these innovative treatments will still be many years away, rapid improvements in quality of life increases will be seen in the test subjects, prompting an accelerated effort by regulators and lawmakers to fast-track the rollout of the new treatments, as they are badly needed by aging regulators and lawmakers. In the year 2024, self-driving cars will be replaced by cars you drive yourself. The experiment officially over. Giving a driver's license to a toddler AI was a bad idea. The experiment will be repeated
So bad.
again in about 15 years when the AI is a little more mature. Until then, watch the road for AI bicycles, where we should have started to begin with.
Oh dear.
AI will be used to communicate with aggressive orca off the coast of Spain. The killer whales will indicate some surprise, as they had no idea we were intelligent. The conversation lasts only a few minutes, though the phrase finless fish-thieving pests comes up several times, seemingly a reference to us.
I feel like this is a short story in the works.
In the year 2024, researchers will discover that B cells and not T cells are crucial to curing the common cold and other respiratory viruses. Instead of vaccines designed to train T cells to recognize pathogens, B cell optimization will be performed using a prime editing technique that changes all of the body's B cells into the genetic twin of that one coworker who never seems to get sick. Everyone who gets the shot becomes allergic to red bell peppers. However, everyone who does not get the shot suffers from a higher likelihood of thinking that Jason Aldean has talent. In the year 2024, ultra-processed foods will be forced to carry health warnings for all the already known diseases that they cause or contribute to. Meanwhile, the unsubstantiated claims of healthy food will be removed from its packaging. People around the world will recognize the person in 2024 that they most want to be in a mirror. In the year 2024, world peace will be achieved, according to an international governmental panel. This will come as a surprise to everyone still living in a war zone. Similar international governmental panel will also declare that global warming has been stopped, that the COVID-19 pandemic is over, and that the global economy has never been better. In the year 2024, a cage full of research mice undergoing an intelligence augmentation experiment will escape and are never found. Their descendants will eventually inherit the earth. In the year 2024, the size of the universe will be discovered to be much smaller than we once thought, by over a few dozen magnitudes. It won't make interstellar space travel any easier, as the same discovery finds that we too are more than a few dozen magnitudes smaller than we thought we were. The correction of scale suggests that the entire known universe could fit into an average size coffee mug of the old model.
Oh dear.
In the year 2024, scientists will discover new animal species, a new aspect of human biology, several methods for curing previously incurable diseases, an unexpected cosmological feature in space, a greener way to generate and store energy, and will use AI to produce unprecedented discoveries wherever big data sets are available. And in the year 2024,
I'm like, I want you to stop right there on that big optimistic prediction. That was great. Okay, what's this one? It's
and
gotta
the
be
year
even better.
2024, hottest year on record.
Darn it. I knew you were gonna go there.
Safe bet.
Oh, those were some fantastic predictions. Self-tying shoelaces. The shoelaces that tie themselves. Or maybe they're cars. Who knows? Blair, what do you predict?
Yes.
Seriously, like the AI, my favorite one in there, all of those is really got to be the AI bicycles. Like, how did they
Why
not
didn't we do
start
that?
there? How did they just give AI a driver's license without even seeing if it could like manage a bike lane?
Yeah, it's also the vehicles that are self-driving are like 5 times as heavy as original gas cars. So it's not even a 2,000-pound menace. It's like a 10,000-pound menace.
Inertia. It's a thing.
Oh, man.
All right, Blair.
Yes, Kiki, you want my predictions? Let's go.
Let's go. What do
My
you predict?
terrible prediction in 2024. I predict that cats will be declared an invasive species in one U.S. state.
No.
California. Make it California. Please let it be
Probably.
California.
It's going to be Hawaii, probably. Anyway,
Oh, yeah.
Teslas will be available via vending machine, but sales will be disappointing. That was actually from Brian.
I like that.
That's Brian's
that
prediction for me.
Thanks, Brian.
An AI written song will chart on the Billboard Top 100 and will raise questions. All those questions we were talking about yesterday, actually. With streaming services getting ads back and becoming more expensive, DVD players and CD players will start flying off the shelves.
What? Physical media that you just owned?
Physical media.
Who knew?
A synthetic brain in a dish will play an AI in chess. And betting on the match, all in Bitcoin, of course, will be crazy. A new frog species will be discovered that is so beautiful under UV that I won't be able to focus on anything else in that show.
I believe this.
Yeah.
It'll be there. So how it sounds. Oh, it's so cute. Oh my gosh. Oh, look at it. It's so pretty.
Yeah.
Everybody,
I'm sorry. I was
Google
still
this.
thinking about the frogs. As we learn more about how the brain responds to music, prescription jam sesh required by a doctor will be the new norm.
Fascinating. That's an idea.
Prescription music. And last, I predict that in 2024, my predictions will be terribly inaccurate.
Watch you be the most accurate of all of us, except for that one.
It's just hedging my bets, you know.
Uh-huh.
I finally want to get one right.
You've gotten them right. Come on. So let's see. Similarly to Justin, in 2024, I predict that climate will continue to warm globally. And I'm, of course, making this prediction because El Nino and that the whole thing, it affects stuff. But yeah, it's going to keep warming. Elections around the globe are likely to prove contentious and stall political progress on climate and AI regulation. So 2024, I think we're going to see like not a lot of progress on regulation of this stuff because politicians are going to be like, hey, look at me, vote for me, instead of actually doing stuff. And in those lines, Nate Silver will make a lot of uninformed public comments about various scientific topics and a lot of bad election predictions. In that,
like, if you really do, if anybody has political aspirations, just come out against climate change regulation. You will get so much funding so quickly. It will just be instantaneously in the campaign with the most money in your local area.
No taxes. No
Nobody cares about
regulations
taxes
on your
anymore.
gas
Taxes
fields.
are so low, they don't even know they're paying tax.
They don't live in Oregon, do they? AI deep fakes online during these elections are going to confuse and impact voters and the elections.
Absolutely. You're so right. And that's terrifying.
Yeah.
Are you talking about the just regular ads?
No, not regular ads, but deep fakes created by AI, people using AI to deep
Mhm.
fake stuff in and put it on social media to get it out there,
The
and it's
candidate
going
saying or doing or being
yeah.
photographed doing something
Yeah,
that's gonna influence things even though
it's
it
gonna
didn't actually.
influence stuff.
Yeah,
Yeah,
absolutely.
so, I
Yeah.
mean, the fact checkers are gonna have a real time of it this next year. Um, someone is going to land a robot on the moon. Someone. There's a lot of people who want foot rope. Someone is gonna do it this year. Okay, in NASA is going to launch the Europa Clipper mission, and that launch is going to be successful. There's not gonna be a bad rocket. There's not gonna be explosions. It's gonna launch. It's gonna head out there. We're not gonna really learn anything from it until about 2030, but the launch is gonna be successful. That's what I say. There's an experiment that hopefully they're gonna like. I really think they're going to put their data together, and a couple of experiments that have been going on looking at the mass of the neutrino. So I think we are going to get a really accurate measurement of the mass of the neutrino this next year, published. People are going to report on it. 2024 is going to be the year of the exascale supercomputer. US, UK, EU, China. People are going to have exascale supercomputers either working or being built all
Wait,
over
what is
the
that
place.
exascale? What does that mean?
X it's like 10 to the 18 process. It's the parallel processing, massive super parallel processing, um, that will allow for things like digital twin research and I don't know, there's the physics research. Look, they want to put one in the National Ignition Facility to look at ignition of nuclear warheads for our nuclear stockpile. They also are going to be putting one at Argonne National Labs that's going to be doing more digital twin type research and quantum processing. But well, let's see. I think we're going to see a lot of positive progress on mRNA vaccines next year. I think we're going to see some results from some of the trials that are going on. I mean, hope maybe we'll see more mRNA vaccines making it further in the process. Neither Blair nor Justin will have another baby in 2024.
Me for sure.
This is my
I'm looking over
prediction. I'm
here.
looking at Justin's face right now like,
But I have technically there is time. So
There is time.
This is I'm not throwing down the gauntlet. This isn't a challenge. This is
No,
my
no.
prediction.
no, I take it as a challenge. That's fine.
Oh,
I'll
dear.
figure it out.
Oh dear.
My
let's
half,
see.
no problem. Good.
And Science and TWIS are going to continue to bring the optimistic slant for humanity to our audience throughout 2024. I'm not saying it's going to be all the same, but we're going to continue to do it. All right.
Okay.
Hey, everybody. This is This Week in Science. And if you are listening right now, it would be super awesome if you are enjoying the show, you want to support us, head over to twist.org, click on the Patreon link, and become a patron of the show. If you don't want to help us out on a monthly basis, you can also click on the Zazzle link, and we have all sorts of really cool products, merchandise that are Twist related that have been artistically created for the most part by Blair, taken from her annual calendars. Oh, hey, and there's a 2024 calendar there that Blair made this year for all of you to enjoy. So multiple ways to help keep Twist going, bringing you that optimistic slant throughout 2024. We're here for you. We thank you for your support. And we're coming on back right now for the first Blair's Animal Corner of 2024.
She loves our creatures, great and small. Biped, millipede, no pet at all. You want to hear about animals? She's your girl. Except for giant pandas and squirrels. There's Animal Corner.
What you got, Blair?
Oh my gosh, so lovely to hear that song.
It's been so
In
long.
2024. Yes. Well, first I have fruit bats. So fruit bats are named fruit bats because they eat.
Mm,
That's right, fruit.
beef. No.
Everybody, yeah, no.
Fruit.
Hopefully, everyone listening shouted along. Fruit, great, good job, everybody. So fruit bats eat fruit, which for us might have been a problem because we would eat nothing but a sugary food, and therefore we would get. Everybody say it. Diabetes.
Diabetes.
That's right. Yes.
Insulin
Excellent.
issues. Yeah. Okay.
So, diabetes, the 8th leading cause of death in the United States for humans, is a pretty big deal. So, UC San Francisco scientists decided to look at fruit bats to see how they can survive this extremely sugary diet. How do they not get and die from diabetes? So, with diabetes in the human body, that means you can't produce or detect insulin. You have problems with controlling blood sugar. But these fruit bats, for some reason, they can control their blood sugar no matter what, no matter how much sugar they consume. And so they want to make better insulin or sugar sensing therapies for people by looking at the bats. They focused on the evolution of the bat pancreas, which controls blood sugar, and the kidneys. The kidneys because the kidneys get impacted by diabetes and they have problems pulling out nutrients and salts out of waste, right? So that's like the whole thing.
Right.
And so that's like how people end up on dialysis and all these things. So they found out that fruit bat pancreases, compared to the pancreas of an insect-eating bat, had extra insulin-producing cells, and they had genetic changes that helped them process this huge amount of sugar. Also, the kidneys had adapted to be able to pull electrolytes to retain them better from the very watery fruits that they're eating all the time. And so in some cases, a single letter change of DNA made this diet viable for the fruit bats. A single letter change. So that's something that might not be so difficult to transfer to humans as we thought maybe originally. So
Right. It's super specific. It would be super specific genetic
Yeah.
modification, but if they're similar genes, that's fascinating.
Yes, exactly. So they analyzed gene expression and the regulatory DNA by looking at individual cells. And so they were able to figure out what types of cells, in which organs were related to this, but also how those cells regulate the gene expression, how they manage the diet, and all these things. So, the long story short is that this study could be one of many that then leads to transferring the specific kidney and pancreas function in these bats to something that we can use as a therapy in humans. So, pretty cool to kind of look at.
Are they close enough? I mean, I guess that's the big question. I mean, it still is, how close is their kidney and pancreas functionality to human, and what are the genes and the proteins and enzymes that are involved in the processing of blood and like I guess that's the
Yeah,
big question is like what they're finding
right.
from the bats. How easy would it be to transfer that stuff? That's fascinating.
Right. And I think the key is that they were able to see a very clear difference between the insect eating bat and the sugar eating bat. And
Mhm.
so because they found the exact difference between these two with the very different diet, they think that there's potential therapies kind of on the horizon because they were able to narrow it down so specifically between these two bats.
That's amazing.
So
But I
it's
really but I mean, the bats, it works. That's what I'm saying is like it works with the bats,
yeah,
but like,
yeah.
is this how it would work? Could we make it work the same way in people?
Great question. Very, very far away from figuring that out, but
Right.
But a lot
still
closer
a
to
pretty
figuring it out in
cool.
mice, which is the
Right.
first step, right?
Right. Yes. Yeah. So if you can get from the bats to the mice, then you can get from the mice to the humans for sure.
And with the with our advances in mRNA and everything, it's like you don't necessarily have to do a genetically modified mouse, but you can, of course. You could actually perhaps even just do additions of mRNA protein based on that,
Mhm.
and see
Mhm.
if that can an elevated level of that, sort of like a diabetes vaccine, if you will.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
something like
And that was the other thing I meant to
Yeah.
mention was that the DNA related to this ability to eat exclusively fruit, they thought was junk DNA before this study.
yeah.
Just a bunch of junk DNA in the bat.
It's
Extra,
been an
extra.
Don't
Read
worry
all
about it.
about it.
No, it's very important.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks,
And then
Bats.
my second story for tonight is a kind of a Blair's Animal Corner classic of a misunderstood animal that has gotten a bad rap for a very long time for no reason. That's the California grizzly bear. So those of us who are not from California who are listening, you may or may not know that the California state flag has a brown bear on it, and we do not have any brown bears native to California anymore. So it's kind of a funny thing that our flag is a brown bear, but that's because we killed them all. So why? Why did they all
no.
get hunted out of California? And the story goes, it's because European settlers came in, and among the other lovely things they did for the environment as they spread across the United States, as she says with sarcasm, they wanted to get rid of the predators in the area because they thought that it was dangerous. They thought that they were eating livestock and crops, and they thought that essentially it was a rite of passage to say, "All right, I killed a bear." Think about the song Davy Crockett killed him a bar when he was only 3. Right? There you go.
Top predator. Yeah.
Yes. So grizzly bears, the story goes, they were these big menacing things. Humans could not live with them. So it was the humans or the bears. The bears got hunted out of California. And thank goodness, because California is very populous, right? Well, turns out by looking at pelts and bones in private and public collections of grizzly bears throughout the state of California, they were not as big nor as dangerous, nor as much of a threat to livestock as one would be led to believe. The reputation that they had was that they weighed as much as 1,000 kilograms, which for somebody who worked with bears, I'm going to tell you right now, no, grizzly bears don't get that big. But sure, fine, you can say that if you want in your like legend conversation that you got. And also that they ate exclusively or mostly livestock and other animals. But by looking at the bones and pelts, they use nitrogen and carbon isotopes to learn about the diet. So let's tackle that first. Any guess what they found?
They ate
Lots of
What were
fish.
they eating?
Fish,
Fish.
salmon, berries.
Berries.
Good guess. 9% meat. So berries, pretty much.
Wow.
Yeah, grizzly bears are not really hunters. They're definitely grazers and scavengers. They just they're opportunists. They eat whatever they can find. So only 9% meat.
Mostly plants.
Um,
Interesting.
Yeah. In fact,
So this-
even when when humans were, or Europeans specifically, were all over the California territories, even then, after that, in the largest amounts, only 25% of diets was meat.
Yeah, this is likely because the whole reason that there were bears is because they say the grizzly bear, brown bear, it's because they survived the younger Dryas. The short-faced bear, which was a bigger bear, was a big game hunter and died out during the younger Dryas, as did all of the big game hunters in the western United States. They all vanished.
Too bad humans weren't there. Oops.
Because
What?
because the big game disappeared, and so they
Yeah.
what survived ate berries and fish.
Yeah, exactly. And as far as how big they were, they measured the size of the bones and the pelts and determined the average weight of bears was 200 kilograms.
Hmm.
A fifth the size, which actually is much closer to the size of grizzly bear that I have worked with and seen in the past, getting to be around topping out at 500 pounds. That sounds more accurate.
Right.
And so the idea, it's just very silly. But so essentially the grizzly bears, they were not killed because they were eating livestock or because they were these giant menaces. They were killed as trophies. That's pretty much it. And because if they wandered into
Yay.
human territories, people felt threatened and they decided to dispatch them. So,
Which is what happened across Europe before
mhm.
the civilized Europeans came to conquer the Americas. That again was in quotes and with sarcasm. But
Mhm, mhm,
the
mhm,
big predators were all eliminated from the forests in Europe, across the UK, a lot of Europe. That's what happened. They got rid of the big predators. It was humans first, and that's the way it's
mhm,
always been. So they came
mhm.
in. They tried to do that here. Oh, our
Yeah, I
history.
mean, think about it. It's livestock is one thing, but if you talk about threats to humans, there were humans that lived in California before the Europeans
What?
when there were bears here.
We did just
And
fine.
it was fine. It's part of the deal. Just. But anyway, I do think it's very interesting that this is the story that we tell about why our state flag has a now extinct animal on it in the state of California, and it's all kind of a lie.
The state flag is now not a lie, but it is a remembrance
Yeah.
of the great animals that were here before.
Yeah.
It's for memories. It's fascinating. I love the way that you brought it up too, like just the stories, the mythical stories, the historical tall tales that were told.
Yeah.
I mean, you wonder. I mean,
Oh,
bones. Maybe there were some big grizzlies, but those are going to be the outliers.
right.
Not
And so that's
most
the
of
other thing they
humans are
said.
7, 8 feet tall. They're outlier, right?
Yeah, is that almost exclusively the ones that were mounted or turned into rugs or turned into some sort of trophy were the biggest ones because people
Right.
were bragging. So that skewed the expectation of how big the average bear was because those are the only ones being displayed. So yeah.
Yeah, that, and of course they're made to look all ferocious by the taxidermist when
Yeah.
they were probably shot sleeping, you know, grazing
Yeah, like
berries.
they got drunk on apples that had fermented and then took a nap in a courtyard.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Who were the real opportunists? That's what I want to know.
I mean, we all know.
We all know. Blair, thank you for a great animal corner.
Of course.
Yeah, I'm going to take us to space right now and talk just for a moment about the Dark Energy Survey. This is the Dark Energy Camera at Noir Labs CTIO, and the CTIO is the Cerotolo Inter-American Observatory, and it's been surveying distantly, deeply into the universe to look for supernova. So originally, many, many decades ago, there was a survey of supernovas that came to determine what we call the standard cosmological constant, or what is known in the physics world as lambda cold dark matter. And the model that came from the survey was based on something like 52 type 1a supernova events. And so these researchers were like, okay, the supernova events, it's a very small sample size. So let's look for more supernova. Let's look further back in time. Let's look bigger. And let's try and see if this cosmological constant of universal expansion that we've determined based on the timing of these supernova, the brightness of the light from these standardized supernova explosions, let's see if it really is standard. Let's see if it really holds up when we get a really, really good sample. So,
Yeah, and real quick, too, the when you're saying standardized supernova, that's because the whatever candle strength A1A is thought to be is thought to always be the same. They're categorized as the
right.
same. Once it's a 1A supernova, it's like it's the most bright setting possible
Yes.
on our scale. So we assume, first of all of these are the same. which
We
is sort
assume,
of interesting.
right? It's a
Yeah,
big assumption, right?
yeah.
It's a very big assumption. And so these researchers with this dark energy survey that was based on this 4-meter telescope that was at the CTIO, the Cerro Tololo Inter-American Observatory, they analyzed over 1,500 distant supernovae. And by analyzing them and putting them through machine learning techniques, they were actually able to aid in the classification to create a higher quality and more consistent quality of classification of the supernovae that they were looking at. And they made a very uniform, highly consistent data set of supernovae that were about 1,499 likely 1A supernova. And these are beyond a redshift of zero point 0.2. And so this is quintupling the number that we had beyond a redshift of 0.5. So this is a huge scale up from where we were previously with only like 52 supernova to infer the thing that causes expansion of the universe, which what we have inferred and decided is this energy called dark energy. Dark energy is got to be constant. It's got to be this thing. Supernovas, they told us that the universe is expanding and oh, there's acceleration happening. Okay, it's got to be constant. This is all good. We've got the other data has suggested this is not exactly true. So the most exciting thing for me about this study and what they have shared and what will be published in the American Astrophysical Journal, and they just presented these results at the American Astronomical Society this Monday. Their findings are consistent, but not definitive in terms of what we understand or what we thought we understood about dark energy. So on the screen right now, I have an image of supernova that have been sampled within the field covered by the detectors of this dark energy camera. And so the light from this particular image corresponds to time travel about 0.6 billion years. There's a quasar also that has a redshift that is equivalent to light travel time of 11.5 billion years in the image. So they're able to really take a lot of objects in the images and determine where and how far in the past they existed. And in doing this, they were able to create a sample set that does fit within the lambda cold matter model, dark matter model, or dark energy model, but not exactly. It's not that there's not a non-accelerating universe. It fits a model of an accelerating, expanding universe, but there's a lot of variability. And so it doesn't fit perfectly. And because of the variability, it suggests that there is actually the possibility that dark energy is not consistent across space and time, that it has changed over space and time, and that there may be acceleration or differences at different points in cosmic time. So it supports the idea of the expanding, accelerating universe, but not necessarily the consistency of dark energy. So there is definitely more to be looked at moving forward, but I find it intriguing and exciting. And the fact that we can just look at these objects based on the redshift or the blue shift of the light and start to get an idea of how far away things are, how fast light and space-time are accelerating.
And
Mm,
and just to be
it's
clear,
thrilling.
they're not accelerating quickly.
No.
In terms of the amount of expansion that takes place as light travels for a year is I'll almost say astronomically small number. The shift is so tiny you would never ever notice it, even the most sensitive instrumentation on Earth.
Right.
But over vast parsecs of space and deep time, and when we're talking about something that can be 0.6 billion years of traveling, well, then those things become a little bit more obvious. And then for objects that are further out, and then further out, the cumulative acceleration effect of all these things expanding in every direction all at once makes it seem like very rapid, quick expansion. Oh, things are flying apart. But however, in terms of any sort of measurement of space that we can relate to, it's almost nothing.
I just think it's wonderful that we finally have a larger sample set. This is the beginning. It's not done for sure. They're going to be looking for more of these supernovae. And I love the fact that they are using machine learning algorithms to allow the classification so that there's a higher quality assurance of the timing and the brightness of the supernovae, the amount of energy that has allowed. So this, in doing this experiment and what they have made happen, they've also pioneered new techniques that will lead to the next generation of results and data, experiments, results and data with respect to dark energy and our view of the universe.
Yeah. The other thing that's too is I was looking at that graphic, like the whole problem with the 1A being a candle brightness that's set in we think this is what they like there's a maximum amount of burn that can take place in space where with the supernova, maximum amount of energy, a threshold of some sort, which could be controlled by the physics of something that I don't understand. But it's also possible that that whole chart lines up much better than we think it does, just because we have to make some assumptions about that candle strength. Like
human assumptions based on where we're from. And yeah,
I mean, it's basically how we have triangulated and figured out distances and categorize things, because we can't actually take a light meter up to a supernova and see exactly how bright and how much energy it is, because that's also related to how far away it is. I think that chart that showed like all those different things, it might actually be lining up with the expansion much better than we think it does, but it's almost like we're missing a partial parameter of brightness from a supernova.
We haven't looked at yet, or maybe not measured yet. Yeah. All right.
It's tricky because it's also tied into how far away we think it is. Right. And so if we assume
it could also be
threshold, it can't get any brighter than this, but it is brighter than that, that means it could be further away. So that's why there's a little bit of, I think, could be all over the place. It could be actually, the universe could be much more standardized than
and we could be like living in a weird mirror universe, like a hall of mirrors where the light's been bounced at us so many times, but it's just, it's still going fast. It's all there, whatever. This is what we see. Looks normal to me. No way to shoot an arrow in that kind of a hall of mirrors archery range.
Oh, speaking of archery, transition smoothly achieved. There's new evidence of the rise of archery in the Andes Mountains of South America. This is a study led by University of California at Davis. They focused on Lake Titicaca Basin in the Andes Mountains. Anthropologists found through an analysis of 1,179 projectile points that covered dates over 10,000 years into the past, that the rise of archery technology dates to around 5,000 years ago. So this is previous research held that archery in the Andes emerged around 3,000 years ago. This new research indicates bow and arrow technology coincided with both expansion of exchange networks and a growing tendency for people to reside in villages. So people living together, pooling knowledge, sharing technology. Yeah. So that would be also around the time that the first current modern Europeans were arriving in Europe.
Oh, that's fascinating.
Yeah.
5,000 years ago, there was also a study recently that suggested that's when the genes for, or that are responsible for multiple sclerosis ended up in European populations.
Yeah.
That a group of cow herders, aggressive, murderous cow herders, 5,000 years ago, brought their sheep and their cows and murdered people and dominated them and gave them their genes that protected them from sheep and cattle diseases, but they now don't do anything. Oops. So
And then
5,000 years ago in the Andes, that's they're looking at these, and that's what they're
bow and arrow
yeah.
technology.
But separate. So this would be like convergent social evolution. This has nothing to do with the Europeans. It has nothing to do. I mean, this would have been
No, they're not
on its
gonna.
own, right?
Europeans aren't gonna show up for
Yeah.
another 4,500 years or so. Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. And of course, there's already pyramids in South America that are
Yeah.
10,000 years old and older than the pyramids of Egypt. But it's one of those things. It's just it's worth always repeating and reminding people that
It's been around.
the idea that the New World was discovered or even called the New World, even though it's much older of a world than the people who discovered it and called it the New World, it's always bears repeating. Okay, so now we're going to move to southern China, where researchers have discovered that an ancient ape survived until around somewhere between 215 and 295,000 years ago. It went extinct. But this isn't just your average ape. These were giants, 3-meter tall apes, weighing in at somewhere around 250 kilograms, which is somewhere around 550 pounds.
Like a grizzly bear.
Gigantopithecus.
I'm currently Googling
blacki.
how big an orangutan is, because apes, the way that their stance is, they're always bigger than you think when you like see them in a zoo and stuff like that.
Because they got it, because they do a lot of squatting.
It's I mean, what a quick Google tells me that orangutans can be up to about 5 feet and up to about 200 pounds.
Yeah. So double that.
Yeah.
Basically.
Terrifying.
What's really kind of interesting about this is that, this is sort of showing that they went extinct much more recently. So previously they've found tooth and bone, and they knew that these gigantic. Well, they even named it Gigantopithecus blacki. Black eye. They knew they existed in southern China, and they knew this was a thing, but they didn't know when. They thought they must have been much, much older than this, because they didn't have good dating. Even though they found them in about 11 different cave systems, collected thousands of teeth. They finally have what they are, some reliable dating, and now have pegged it between that 215 to 295,000 years ago, as when the last of these giant apes would have been in southern China. Now, that means this is human ancestry goes back further than this. Whereas in Africa, but the Neanderthals would have been out of Africa and probably in the far western Asian, the Caucasus Mountains, somewhere around Iran into that area. They would have been up through the Levant, up into Iran, up into the Caucasus Mountains, what is now present day Georgia, country of. And In China, we had late surviving Homo erectus, was still likely running around, Denisovans, hybrids of, or the donator to the hybrid Neanderthal, whichever turns out to be the term. So this is another giant hominid. This is the biggest hominin on the planet that we ever could have encountered. So when we talk about stories of, we have all these mythological stories. Oh, giants that walked the earth. Oh, well, actually, yeah, there were. Oh, what about the little people? Oh, yeah, Homo floresiensis. Actually, there were. Like these tales of mythology. There's actually giant Bigfoot. I mean, this is Bigfoot. This is actually bigger than I think Bigfoot is normally represented.
Right.
Even
Yeah.
was the thing that humans could have found, could have interacted with. We know that current modern humans, likely did reach places like Europe and as far out as Siberia, perhaps much earlier than we think. Although, again, it could be a tangled web of what's a Neanderthal, if they're what's a human, whose DNA are we really looking at when we look at some of these ancient DNA signals of early humans reaching places like the Altai cave. But yeah, it's very possible, and I would say likely, that some human ancestors encountered these giants.
Well, they were all trying to probably get shelter in caves. They were
Probably, yeah. Can you imagine? Like,
they
hey,
went
I
through a
found a
little
cave, and then you
competition.
go in there,
Yeah.
and then there's a bunch of giant sleeping apes. So you spear
Oopsies.
one while it's sleeping, and then you take it and you taxiderm it to look all fierce, and everybody's
Right.
like, "Oh, he killed
Look
a
at you, good
Bigfoot when he
hunter.
was only 3." And then the legend is born.
The big feet, the big bears. Wasn't that one from this last year you reported on maybe?
What was
Where
that?
The
Bigfoot
Bigfoot
is like
seeing
the
bears. Yes.
standing up bears. Yeah, the standing bears. That's what we talked about yesterday. My last story for the night tonight has to do with wings. Not fairy wings, not bird wings, but insect wings. Where the heck do insect wings originate? Where'd they come from? Researchers have been trying to figure out when and where insects evolved their wings and from which bodily structure they evolved. It's this is evolution. All the things on our bodies that we have right now, we're probably doing other things at some point in evolutionary history and some species that predated us, right? That is in our evolutionary path, right? So,
Like the fact that your inner ear started as part of your jaw.
yes, exactly. We
Yeah.
go through. My favorite is the what? Oh my gosh, I'm blanking on it now. I finally passed the point of not remembering.
Are you
Anyway,
talking about your hyoid?
no, the gills
Mhm.
that we
Oh.
once had. We don't need
Oh.
gills anymore. It comes from our fishy ancestry. Um,
Mhm.
yeah, but the hyoid. There are all sorts of things that have been co-opted for different uses. And
Yeah.
what were they doing originally? Researchers at the Biology Center of the Czech Academy of Sciences just published their work. A group of entomologists in the journal Communications Biology with their German colleagues, they looked at fossils of larvae from the Paleozoic era. They looked at these larval insects. And in looking at these fossilized insects, they determined that insect wings very, very likely, because of these fossils, they kind of found fossils that probably predated modern aquatic and land insects. And so there's kind of like, okay, there's some overlap. They all probably came from the same place at one point in time. And they determined that based on the factors that they saw, little gill buds and covers and other things, that insects very likely, generally, their wings came from gills.
What?
Yes. And this is something that has, when you look at like lacewings or ladyflies, like some insects that do have aquatic larvae, there are features that look, they have little gill buds and gill plates that are on the abdomen and these little, and it's like, okay, you see that they could kind of come from that, but it's been this really interesting evolutionary mystery. And so, yeah, they say that there were all these pairs of flattened projections on the sides of the abdomen that probably functioned as gills. And the structures are really similar to these pads that are seen in the larvae of modern insects. And they do give the statement that although the fossils certainly do not represent the ancestor of winged insects, they're larvae. And the adults of the group had fully functional wings, and it's an ancient group of insects. And so, given the fact that the larvae of other ancient insect taxa, such as mayflies and dragonflies, are also aquatic, it supports the possibility that the aquatic environment played an important role in the very beginnings of the evolution of winged insects, from gills to flattened projections to wings.
But then, how do like baby dragonflies like survive in the water? Like, do
They
they
don't
not
need
use
wings when
gills?
they're in the water. They go through
No.
they transform, right? They metamorphose.
Yeah, but do they have gills, or how are they doing the underwater thing?
They don't have gills per se, but they do have the gill pads, and they have gill. Yes, they
Should they
have.
have to get them back separate from where the wings grow, or can we just look at them? Like, I don't get. Like,
I think it's the whole like ontogeny recapitulates phylogeny, where you can
I've
kind of
heard
see
that
some
before, and I still don't
features.
understand it.
Yeah, so ontogeny is the evolutionary or the no, ontogeny is the development of an organism throughout it, how it develops through its life. Recapitulates, so repeats phylogeny. Phylogeny is the evolutionary path.
Yeah.
So that's why the statement it kind of goes like we see the gills, the little openings in the the um, in our own embryos that go away and disappear throughout development. But that is a structure that was necessary at one point in our own history.
But
Yeah.
usually, um, similar structures beget similar structures, and so this is
Right.
like super weird because you would think that the gills would have ended up as some of the other mechanisms internally in
Right.
insects that make up their weird respiration methods that aren't like
Mhm.
our closed circulatory system, or our
Mhm.
closed respiratory system. So you
Right.
would think it would kind of like be in the abdomen as part of their respiration or something like that, but
Right.
it's not. It's wings? That's wild.
Yeah, because
Wings.
I'm looking
Yes.
at like, of course, much more recent evolutionary. What do you call it? Phylogeny, repeating phylogeny, whatever the thing is. Uh, like, okay, so birds, their arms turned into wings. I get it. You
Right.
flapped
Yeah.
around for a while and eventually got orca,
Yeah, that's how it works usually.
orca whales, dolphins. They have their arms turned into fins. Okay, I get that. Where'd the dorsal come from? I don't know. Just showed up. It's possible that like these wings just showed up out of something. I don't. For
But
The
yeah,
dorsal
why
didn't
and
just
how?
show up. It's part of the vertebrae have larger arches on. There's all sorts anyway. But
yeah.
the yeah. It's
But it
I
is
agree with you
fascinating
that
that
it's a strange leap. It's very interesting.
yeah, and there are other studies that have looked at other species and have suggested previously that wings may have been derived from ancestral gills. There is an evolutionary relationship between crustacean gills and the insect tracheal system, and so, but at the same time, it is why the tracheal system is more understandable because that's
Yeah.
still related to breathing. So why, but why wings? And so Yeah.
I think they just found
That
floppy
is cool.
gills and are going, "Hey, that looks like a wing." I mean,
I don't know.
I'm sure that's probably not what's happening, but that's how it sounds.
Well, so
That's how I'm gonna
it's it's
interpret it.
interesting because I'm also now thinking about um turtle shells
Mhm.
and how they started out as rib bones. The plastron, the bottom of a turtle shell is the ribs. And the
Yeah.
Mhm.
ribs ended up protruding out of the skin in development and creating this hardened outer. It's this crazy kind of jump. Um kind of similar, more internal structure becoming more superficial, and I don't know.
Yeah, but
And the
the hard
gills,
part
the
there
gill
too,
these
though, is
gill pads and these they are actually protecting, they're on the
Yeah.
outside in the, the
And they're kind of
epidermis,
structured.
and they're
Yeah.
structured and they're protecting
Yeah.
the underlying breathing apparatus, the respiration
Mhm.
apparatus. And so once the organism emerges from the water and doesn't need to breathe in that way anymore, what are those external structures going to be co-opted for?
yeah,
Mm,
but what are they
yeah.
gonna look like? Like a bird wing still looks like long fingers. Like, is there
Mm.
something in the structure of gills when you put them onto a slide and look under a microscope that looks at all similar to the design structure of a bee's wing? I mean, is
The
there like,
question is, what does
do
it
we need
look
an
like
ancient
in
wing?
development?
Yeah, and
Because
yeah,
it doesn't really matter what it looks like in the end. It matters what it
you're
looks
right.
Mm.
like when you look inside um the chrysalis when they're developing, and you see
Totally.
kind of how that wing is coming into being. Does it follow the process that looks similar? Which is the whole other weird thing about this, is that these animals go through metamorphosis. So it's not even like you can watch the wings happen in an egg as they
No,
Yeah.
develop from
no.
a ball of cells. You're watching this happen when they become goop in a
But the
chrysalis.
goop knows what
Like,
it wants to do next. It's
the goop
goop,
knows what it wants to do next, but you can't watch the
goop
gills
on a
turn into
mission.
wings.
Yeah.
It makes it so much harder to figure out what's going on developmentally. Kind of makes this really interesting.
That's such a cool
Yeah.
process.
Yeah,
I feel
so
like
poss
I feel like I feel like that's probably it. That's the reason for the goop stage. The whole reason for the metamorphosis. I need to get this all the way over there and turn it into a wing. The only way we're gonna do that,
Yes,
sir, is if you turn into goop first. Well, then sign me
that's
up.
right.
sign me up, we'll do that. We'll just do a goop
Evolution
stage, that's all.
finds a way.
Goop
And it
stage.
totally
I
did.
can't answer right now. I'm kind of in my goop stage.
Gosh.
That's what I should have put as my out of office when I was on maternity leave.
I'm a little goopy
I'm
right
currently in my
now.
goop stage.
Wait, isn't that an effervescent candle?
No, no, no,
Oh, that's a different
no.
kind of goop.
Different kind of goop.
Well, I know. I'm just saying
That's
it could
not
get
my goop.
misunderstood. It could just get
It's not
misunderstood if you're saying you're
it's
going
not,
through a goop stage.
yeah,
My
it's not an
goop is in a
insect
chrysalis, not in a
metamorphosis.
candle. Yeah. There you
Oh no,
go, man.
Have we done it?
I think
We
so.
did it. We did a
Made
whole show.
all the way through. Thanks, everybody. Blair, I'm so excited you got to stay for the whole show.
I know. I'm watching. I'm
You're
watching
watching
you
the monitor.
to sleep currently.
Keep sleeping, child.
Uh-huh.
Everyone, thank you so much for joining us for another episode of This Week in Science. We hope that you enjoyed the show. Fada, thank you again for all of your help with show notes, with the YouTube description, social media. Gord, R, and Laura, thank you for help in the chat room, keeping everything peaceful. Identity 4, thank you for recording the show. Rachel, thank you for editing the show. And everybody in the chat room, thank you for who watched live. Thank you for being here to watch it all live. But of course, thank you to our TWIS patrons. Thank you to Aaron Anathema, Arthur Kepler, Craig Potts, Mary Gertz, Teresa Smith, Richard Badge, Bob Coles, Kent Northcote, Rick Loveman, George Corris, Pierre Velazarb, John Ratnaswamy, Carl Kornfeld, Chris Wozniak, Vegard Shefstad, Jonathan Stiles, aka Don Stilo, Ali Coffin, Reagan Shubrew, Sarah Forfar, Don Mundus, PIG, Stephen Alberon, Daryl Myshak, Andrew Swanson, Fredis 104, Skyluke, Paul Ronovich, Kevin Reardon, Newell's Jack, Brian Carrington, David E. Youngblood, Sean Clarence Lamb, John McKee, Greg Riley, Mark Hessenflow, Steve Leisman, a.k.a. Zima, Ken Hayes, Howard Tan, Christopher Rappin, Richard Brennan Minish, Johnny Gridley, Jaime Day, G. Burton, Lattimore Flying Out, Christopher Dreyer, Greg Briggs, John Atwood, Rudy Garcia, Dave Wilkinson, Rodney Lewis, Paul, Rick Ramus, Philip Shane, Kurt Larson, Craig Landon, Sue Doster, Jason Olds, Dave Neighbor, Eric Knapp, Lon Makes, EO, Adam Mishkan, Kevin Parachan, Aaron Luthen, Bob Calder, Marjorie, Paul Disney, David Silmerly, Patrick Pecoraro, and Tony Steele. Thank you. Thank you all for your support on Patreon. And if you out there are interested in supporting us and help keep this show going, you can find information and become part of producing this show at TWIS.org. Click on the Patreon link. And next week's show, we should be back. Yeah. We'll be back.
Well, some of us will be back. 8 p.m. Pacific time, broadcasting live from our YouTube and the Facebook channels and from TWIS.org/live.
Oh, Blair.
Do you want to listen to us as a podcast? Maybe while you make a souffle? I don't know. Might be fun. Just search for This Week in Science if our podcasts are found. If you enjoyed the show, get your friends to subscribe as well.
For more information on anything you've heard here today, links to stories and show notes will be available on our website, www.twis.org, where you can also sign up for newsletters.
You can also contact us directly. Email Kiki at Kirsten@thisweekinscience.com, Justin at twistminion@gmail.com, or me, Blair, at blairbaz@twist.org. Just be sure to put TWIS, TWIS, in the subject line, or your email will be spam filtered into some dark energy, which, since we don't fully understand it yet, we're not going to read it.
You can also hit us up on non-right-wing hellscape social media, where we are at TWIS Science. We love your feedback. If there's a topic you would like us to cover or address, a suggestion for an interview, a haiku that comes to you in the night, please let us know.
We'll be back here next week, and we hope you'll join us again for more great science news.
And if you've learned anything from the show, remember,
it's all in your head.
This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science, it's the end of the world. So I'm setting up shop, got my banner unfurled. It says the scientist is in, I'm gonna sell my advice. Show them how to stop the robots with a simple device. I'll reverse global warming with a wave of my hand. And all it'll cost you is a couple of grand. 'Cause this week's science is coming your way. So everybody listen to what I say. I use the scientific method for all that it's worth. And I'll broadcast my opinion all over the earth. 'Cause it's This Week in Science. This Week in Science. This Week in Science. 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 This Week in 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 Science. This week